Here's your introduction. We do the refrain one more time with gusto. With gusto. I am light. Gusto, everyone. Then indulge me for a second. Can we look at verse 4? Because we're going to be doing this on Thursday. We're going to be doing this for our annual next week. Can you look at verse 4? I bring churches. All aglow. Everybody, we have 3 cards. Everybody, we have 3 cards for you all to sign. One is for Deanna Elegance. One is for Steve Brand, who is just not able to sing for Christmas because he still has an upper respiratory tract infection and it's very frustrating. So it's a get well card for those 2. And then one for Deanna Johnson, who's up here, her alto, whose sister passed away suddenly. And she's down, she just had the funeral yesterday. So I'll pass this around. She wasn't. She was.
And then, yeah.
How many verses?
One verse today.
Just one.
At the benediction. It's a benediction. I'm going to say
Yeah.
This person maybe this could go in the door.
Oh.
This is for Janet Hanson.
Well, he's back. No, way better. He should be here. But they need to figure out what the problem is. And I'm not gonna let him out.
Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Oh, yes, I know. 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 Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming. Oh, yes, I know. Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming. Oh, yes, I know.
Yes, I know.
Oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know.
Yes, I know.
Oh, yes, I know.
Yes, I know.
Oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know.
Amen. Thank you, choir. Well, good morning, church. It is good to be together here on this third Advent Sunday. It is wonderful to be together here in this parish house. We have been doing this a couple times a year for the last couple of years, and it's always such a pleasure and joy to be seated in the round together and see one another face to face as we gather around the table of community together. This morning, we are so blessed to welcome our First Parish Bell Choir. Thank you, Bell Choir, for being with us this morning. A special welcome to our guest conductor, Sue Lee. Thank you for being with us this morning and for conducting our wonderful Bell Choir. We also are very blessed to welcome this morning our new AV specialist. You'll see him behind the camera up there, Mark Polly. Welcome, Mark. Mark has joined the team to help us think about all of our AV needs and think about all the ways that we can improve our systems and envision our way forward so that we can be an inclusive and welcoming community for everybody in person and online. So we are so glad that you've joined us and are a part of our community and our worship this morning. There are so many people that are a part of what happens here in the life of First Parish. There are people that you just never think to, even think about, except they are the ones that make this whole thing run. The people that bake the communion bread and the ushers and the people that provide the set up the tables and the chairs and the hospitality. There are so many people that contribute to the life of our congregation, and we give thanks to you as well, those that have been named, those that haven't been named. We have a special thanks this morning for our altar flowers this morning that were given by Mary Gaylord to honor the memory of Beth Taylor, whose bright spirit touched so many during her lifetime and lives on in First Parish as an invitation to caring community. And so we give thanks for the beautiful flowers this morning. Well, we are here deep in Advent, week 3, moving ever onward and forward, closer and closer towards this holy night that we will celebrate in a couple weeks on the 24th. And as we move closer and closer, there are a couple people that are also moving closer and closer to their destination. We have our special tradition, for those of you that might be new, of moving our nativity figurines closer and closer towards Bethlehem as they make their journey towards the birth of Jesus. And so we're going to need some help here today. We've got some wise men up in the back, I understand, over with the bell choir. Could we maybe pass them forward and do some teamwork, pass them on down the row and over to the choir, and think they need to find a home on this stool in front of the piano. And then I hear the shepherds are over in the corner. They're still watching their sheep by night, and they are going to hang out there for another week, I think. But I do think that Mary and Joseph need to make their way a little bit closer toward Bethlehem. Let's call this Bethlehem. So they're over here in the corner. Could we maybe find them a spot up on that shelf over there? Right over here. Thank you. This is a very big move that they've made, but we are moving with them further and further into this season, and so we thank you for participating in that sacred tradition, one of many. We here at First Parish are so glad that you've joined us this morning. If you are here online, we are so glad that you're a part of our community, and we give you a big wave this morning to say hi. Thank you for being here with us, and we are so glad that you are with us this morning and part of our community. And if you are a new visitor or first-time visitor, we hope that you will stick around after worship this morning. Join us in the Donaldson room that's just through these doors over here for a coffee hour. And the ministers would love to say hi, to meet you, to get to know your story a bit and share our story. We here at First Parish are rooted in tradition, our Unitarian and our congregational heritage. More than that, though, we are leaning in, always looking forward and searching for that new light that is breaking forth from the holy, breaking forth in your life, breaking forth in all of our lives collectively. And so whoever you are, wherever you're from, whoever you love, however far you've come from this morning, you are so deeply welcome here. And now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as we say together our opening words. You, darkness, of whom I am born, I love you more than the flame that limits the world to the circle it illuminates and excludes all the rest. But the dark embraces everything, shapes and shadows, creatures and me, nations, just as they are. It lets me imagine a great presence stirring beside me.
You may be seated, and please join, if you wish, in saying the words of our covenant, printed in your order of service. In the love of truth and in the spirit of Jesus, we unite for the worship of God and the service of all.
Good morning. These are readings from excerpts from Isaiah 11. A shoot shall come out from the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. The spirit of the Creator shall rest on him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and respect for the Creator. With righteousness he shall judge for the poor and decide with equity for the oppressed of the earth. The wolf shall live with the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the kid. The calf and the lion will feed together, and a little child shall lead them. They will not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Creator as the waters cover the sea.
Good morning, church. So our first reading takes us all the way back to that creative, mysterious darkness that we hear about at the beginning of the book of Genesis from the Hebrew Bible. Let's listen for the Spirit to speak. This is Genesis 1, verses 1 through 5. When God began to create the heavens and the earth was complete chaos, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness God called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day.
We come now to the time in our service that we set aside for silent and spoken prayer. To begin, we'll remaining seated, we'll sing the hymn that's printed in your order of service, O come, Emmanuel. Following the singing, we'll have a couple of moments for silent meditation and reflection.
Our prayer hymn spoke about those depths that hide within a sigh. And this is our chance as we continue now in prayer together to step a little further into those depths, to share the concerns and the joys, to lift up those people and places that are on our hearts this morning. If you have a prayer that you'd like to share, please raise your hand now, and Sarah and I will make our way around with the microphones. For what and for whom are we praying today?
I wanted to say a prayer of gratefulness and hope for yesterday, which was a day of great joy, fun, and worry, and then relief. So we spent all time together decorating Christmas tree, things like that. Also worrying about my daughter-in-law's scan results, which came back at the end of the day, and they were very good. So we're all very relieved and grateful.
This is a prayer of celebration because I think today is Susie Rowe's birthday.
I'll add to the prayer of celebration for my sister-in-law who's celebrating a milestone birthday this weekend. So grateful that she's in my life.
And this is another prayer of thanks for the life of my mother, who turned 90 on Friday. And it was wonderful to celebrate that day with her and just think about all she's given to her family.
This is a prayer of thankfulness, thanks for the life of my aunt, who was also 90 and passed away peacefully a couple of weeks ago, and added a lot of joy to my life and a lot of others. And also just a prayer for peace in the world.
It goes without saying, but I felt compelled to give a prayer of thanks to our church leadership, pastoral staff, and the FPL community. In our mission, we do say that this is supposed to be the source of hope and positive impact in our communities, our region, and beyond, by affirming the dignity of all people and caring for living earth. This church has represented that in any way I can think of, and I'm grateful for that.
A prayer of gratitude. My older son, his wife, and my 3 teenage grand boys are driving all the way up from Alabama, an 18-hour drive, to be with us for Christmas. I am so grateful.
As we're speaking this morning about light and dark, I hope that in the past few days and next few days, people will take time to step outside in the night to look at the moon, which has been so beautiful. And think about the fact that it circles our earth on everybody. And I pray for peace.
A prayer for peace also for those that are living in war, living in displacement camps, living in poverty around the world. May the season bring them peace also.
I pray in gratitude for the sound of babies, and I think there's one right behind me who's just filling my heart with such joy and gratitude.
A prayer for the people of Syria who have known so much suffering for the past decade and more, who seem right now to feel such joy. Pray that that joy may continue and be deserved.
I too was moved by the reading from Genesis that all was chaos, and then God stepped in and separated the darkness and the light and created the light. It was just a moving image for me, and I just send a prayer for our fragile and beautiful planet as we continue to cherish the living earth. Amen.
We lift up these prayers of our community, both those that have been spoken aloud and those that we hold in the silence of our hearts. Amen.
Dear Spirit of night sky, power over the deep, holy, invisible. In this season of shortest days, let us pause to rejoice in the gifts that darkness brings. Here in the dark, no circle of light separates those who belong from those left outside. All are one under the fading stars and full-grown moon. In the dark, we cannot see each other's faces, but we can hear the beating of the heart. We can hear mothers crying and revelers dancing feet, hungry bellies in war-torn places, and maybe down the street. We can hear the moans of soldiers praying again for peace. We can hear the gravel rumbling under boots of refugees. If we listen closely, we can hear the cry of hope, the beating thrum of angel wings and ringing of the bells. From churches, mosques, and temples, calling us into community, reminding us that we all spring from the same dark deep. If we touch our ear to earth, will we hear the seeds and roots? What sound do miracles make as they prepare to grow? May I surrender to the miracles of the dark. May I, like the darkness, welcome all with equanimity, the stranger and friend, the easy and difficult, warm and cold, growing and dying. May I be grateful for the vastness of love and hope beyond the small circle of my light. May I not rush to light a candle. May I linger in the wild, cold, open-hearted, unlimiting dark. Amen. And now I invite you, if you wish, to say the words of the unison prayer that you can find in your order of service, adapted from Breathed into the World. May you know the stillness of winter and the call to love. May you see the moon silvering the night sky and let the dark of midnight plunge you into your truest self and fling you back out again to a world in need of who you are. May there be the familiar carols you know by heart and new melodies to set you free. May there be feasting and frolicking, kindness and wonderment. And may there be wise people to follow a star in the east and a child to teach us to love and enough magic to let the imagination go wild, to let what wants to be born break through. May the presence of the holy crowd out fear, hate, and worry, and proclaim in this moment that peace and goodwill might yet be breathed into the world, and a vow that we too can give birth to love. Will the ushers please come forward for the morning offering?
My soul cries out with a joyful shout, that the God of my heart is great. And my spirit sings of the wondrous things that you bring to the ones who wait. You fixed your sight on your servant's plight, and my weakness you did not spurn. So from east to west shall my name be blessed, could the world be about to turn. My soul shall sing of the day you bring. Let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Though I am small, my God, my all, you work great things in me. And your mercy will last from the depths of the past to the end of the age to be. Your very name puts the proud to shame, and to those who would for you yearn. You would show your might, put the strong to flight, for the world is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring. Let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. From the halls of power to the fortress tower, not a stone will be left on stone. Let the king beware, for your justice tears every tyrant from his throne. The hungry poor shall weep no more for the food they could never earn. There are tables spread, every mouth be fed, for the world is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring. Let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Though the nations rage from age to age, we remember who holds us fast. God's mercy must deliver us from the conqueror's crushing grasp. This saving word that our forebears heard is the promise which holds us bound, till the spear and rod will be crushed by God, who is turning the world around. My heart shall sing of the day you bring. Let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn.
Please join, if you wish, in the offertory prayer printed in your order of service. We give thanks both for these gifts and the givers, and we ask that we may use these gifts wisely and well, both to nurture the life of this congregation and to further the goals of justice and peace throughout the world. Please be seated. Amen. Thank you, Bell Choir. Our second reading this morning is a poem by Isaac Villegas, Dark Advent, a poem. In the beginning was the end, and in the end, silence. And the silence is God. She was and is God, all of life born through her. She flashes rays of darkness, and the whiteness does not overcome her, because in her is life, and her life is flesh like midnight. In the dark, her eyes flicker Tehom, and her chest trembles mine with the quiet of the Most High. We have seen her glory, a raven's black sheen, beauty's shadow.
It was dark when I left my apartment this morning. And right as I opened the door, my living room to go out onto the porch, I looked up and there hanging in the sky, you've already heard it, this beautiful, full, gorgeous moon. Not a producer of light itself, but one that holds so much and shines down on us anyway. I drove in to work, to church, up Trapelo Road. And the sun was rising behind me. Day was breaking, but the moon was there in front of me. It felt like the sun was chasing me and I was chasing the moon. I've mentioned before in this context and other messages that when I was growing up, the moon was a source of deep spirituality for me. I used to pray to the moon when I was a little girl. My first prayers that I really remember were to the moon. That was until I was told, can't do that. That's wrong. That's sinful. I think we've all had that impulse towards spirituality, to the divine, and we've come across different contexts in our lives where we've been told, no, we've got to suppress that. We can't lean into that. We can't listen to that source of wisdom and knowledge and spirituality because it's not in alignment with XYZ. We've heard already this month as we've been reflecting on the theme of dazzling darkness. It is hard to remain in the darkness for a while. That impulse toward finding the divine in what has been labeled dark, been labeled bad by the wider context, that impulse has been suppressed. Not just in recent decades or centuries, but for millennia. In fact, our first reading this morning from the book of Genesis, it tells a story. It's an ancient myth of creation. It has echoes of other myths from the surrounding region. They're all telling stories, trying to make sense of this world in which we live. And this was the ancient Hebrews mythology of this is where it all comes from. I remember being a child in a different tradition. I went to Christian school from preschool to 8th grade, and we had Bible class every day for those 10 years. I'm sure you will all be shocked and befuddled that Bible class was my favorite class. I know, you could not have guessed. I remember distinctly how much I loved Bible, how much I just soaked it all up. I've been told my first word was Bible. I used to listen to the Bible on cassette tape to go to sleep at night as a child. But I remember distinctly the first Bible class that I was sitting in, and we were going over this story, Genesis 1, the 7 days of creation, as it was taught to me, when God literally took nothing. There was nothingness. And out of nothing created everything I see in 6 days, rested on the 7th. And this happened, about 6,000 years ago. I remember sitting there being 9, 10 years old and listening to the pastor who taught my Bible class thing, or reading this text, and I look up at him like, but if light wasn't created until the first day, and then water wasn't created until the second day, where did the water come from in verse 2? Did you catch that? Right? If you're familiar with the story, how does it go? When God began to create the heavens and the earth was complete chaos, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. It's not day 2 yet. Where'd the water come from? And I remember asking the pastor, that was the first time it was like, the answer was not satisfactory. And I thought, well, maybe when I get to next year's Bible class, and Then there'll be an answer, and it'll make sense to me when I'm a little older. And then maybe, and then, and maybe, and then maybe. This was that place of that first question. One of the things that I have found in my post-deconstruction faith is that this is actually one of the most beautiful passages to me, reminding me of the breadth and depth and the diversity of divine. That's so much bigger than what I was originally told. And I had that impulse as a child before anybody else ever told me. Finding the divine in the dark. That was already in me. Finding the divine, and whatever that source was. I'm curious what that source was for you initially growing up. When we look at this text in Genesis chapter 1, we've got a couple clues that it's not the easy story, and perhaps it's been told in other contexts. When God began to create. So, what was going on before God began to create? The earth was complete chaos. What was going on there? In the Hebrew, the word is tohu bohu, which is, you might see it in other translations, formless and empty. I like this translation better. It was just chaos. This is one of those echoes of another ancient myth from the Enuma Elish. The text in the Enuma Elish from that region, it's one of those ancient creation stories, has this idea that everything already existed. This is no creation ex nihilo out of nothing. It wasn't a blank slate. There was already something there, and it was just chaos. There was a whirlwind happening. And out of that chaos, the divine brought forth something new. Creation was born out of perhaps was something that looked a little bit like a mess. Perhaps something that looked like you can't go and find the divine there. It's chaos. We spend our lives trying to find order in chaos. I wonder what your chaos looks like today. Trying to get the kids dressed and out the door. Trying to figure out when you're going to have time to clean before everybody descends in a couple weeks. Perhaps there's some grief and confusion and uncertainty about the future. What meaning and what order is coming out of that, even this? Because the way I see it in this text, divine doesn't need a blank slate. In fact, divine prefers not to use a blank slate. Divine prefers to use chaos. To come into the midst of that whirlwind and hover. In the text, it says that darkness covered the face of the deep. And there's this parallelism in the Hebrew poetry. Darkness covered the face of the deep. The Spirit of God covered the face of the water. God is in the darkness. And that face of the deep, that word deep there in the Hebrew, it's so rich, this text. It's a word tahom, was in our second reading, a poem. It's this idea of an ancient primordial ocean, the ancient waters of creation, the deep, deep waters that were already there from the beginning of time. In that Enuma Elish story, the word tahom is an echo of this ancient goddess, Tiamat, this goddess of creation, who uses her very flesh to form the waters and the earth, and all things come from it. That echo of divine creativity, a spark of creativity in the chaos. A couple weeks ago, we also had one of my favorite paintings as the cover of our order of service, Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. I'm a big fan of Van Gogh, and if any of you have ever not had a chance to read his letters, I highly recommend them. It's a great source of wisdom and insight into a man who cared deeply about people and was wrestling with all sorts of different things about his own meaning making and what he wanted to do and what he wanted to put out into the world. He talked in his letters about how much he loved the night sky. This is something that we see depicted in the Starry Night. He said in his letters, "The night is even more richly colored than the day. Colored in the most intense violets, blues, and greens. Some stars are lemony, others have a pink, green, forget-me-not blue glow." In another letter to his brother, he says, "One of the most beautiful things to do is to try to paint darkness, which nevertheless has light in it. It encompasses everything." So this Advent, may we lean into that darkness, see all the chaos of color that maybe we overlooked before because we were told to suppress it, told we couldn't listen to that. May we find the light that is in the dark. Amen.
Friends, now we have the chance to celebrate communion together. Communion is a practice we observe here at First Parish a few times a year, and for me, it's always especially meaningful to do so up here in the auditorium when our senses are already so engaged, when we have the chance to look into one another's faces. All the bread that we will consume today is gluten-free. And in just a moment, Sarah is going to walk us through the choreography of how we're going to make our way up here. There'll be 2 stations on either side of us, and we think we have it pretty well organized. I guess we'll see. First, though, I want to remind us where this practice comes from, right? Where this meal has its roots. We think this month of our Jewish brothers and sisters who are anticipating Hanukkah, which falls on December 25th this year. And we remember that communion, of course, was originally a Passover meal. It was a moment when Jesus was with his friends. And whether he knew or didn't know what was coming, he knew it was an important time and he knew he had a message to give to them. And so he took bread and he broke the bread. I don't know if he had to unwrap it or not. I don't think so, but he broke the bread and he said, "Take and eat, friends. This is my body broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And in the same way, after supper, he took the cup and he said to them all, "Friends, this is the cup of the new covenant, poured out for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins. Do this as often as you drink it as a way to remember me." As we eat this bread and drink this cup this morning, we are invited to experience this meal in a number of different ways. For me, it's a chance to remember who Jesus was. It's a chance to be nourished by his Spirit, and it's a chance to hear again his call to create a beloved community. This table is open to all people who wish to participate. If you wish to remain in your seat, we honor that as well. And now we'll hear a little bit about how this is going to work.
So we're going to find some glory and beauty in the chaos, perhaps. And what we're going to do is, starting with the back row on each side, you will stand up, you will turn towards the back, imagine this is the front, the back of the auditorium, and come around and forward, forming 2 lines. You'll see 2 stations on either side of the table. Go to the first station that is available when you arrive, and then you will turn around and return back to your row. Once this back row is complete, the next row will follow, and the next row will follow. There will be an usher stationed on either side to remind you of when and where to go. And the usher on the back side is going to give you instruction as to when there is room available for you to come forward. The choir will follow both sections here at the end. If you are unable to come forward for whatever reason, please acknowledge the usher. The usher will let us know, and we will bring the station to you. And so now, friends, the table has been prepared. It is open and available for all. Come. Beloved, now that we have received, we are invited to give thanks together, joining our voices in the prayer of thanksgiving, which you'll find in your order of service. Let us give thanks. Bountiful God, we give you thanks that you have refreshed us at your table. Strengthen our faith, increase our love for one another, and send us forth to imagine and build a new world in courage, peace, and joy. Amen.
We go forth from the worship of God to be faithful to the vision of Jesus, to to affirm each person's dignity and to cherish the living earth.
We're so glad that you could be with us this morning, and we hope that you'll stick around after the service for our coffee hour so we can get to know one another and celebrate around the table of fellowship once again. And now, go forth, open and receiving that blessing, the Spirit of the divine that is hovering over whatever chaos you find yourself in this week. No, you are not alone, and something new can come forth from even this. Go forth, beloved. Love goes with you. This is now the time for our community announcements. What announcements do we have for the good of the whole today?
Hi, friends. I thought I would just give us a quick rundown of some of the exciting things that we're looking forward to in the next week and a half. It's such a wonderful time in the life of the First Parish. We have our handbell concert coming up on Tuesday. I think Vicky's going to say a little bit more about that. Then looking ahead to Saturday, we have the solstice service. Kit is going to lead that with Sarah and some dancers. This is one of our really special things that we do. It's a great service to invite a friend to. And then next Sunday, speaking of creative chaos, down the hill this morning, there has been pageant rehearsal. Some of you are aware. And next Sunday, as part of our Sunday service, we'll be back down the hill and we will get to watch our wonderful church children take part in the Christmas pageant. And then Christmas Eve, of course, on Tuesday, the 24th, services at 4, 8, and 10 p.m. Think about inviting a friend, as I said, as we seek to continue to build and grow this community. Let's hear from Vicky about the handbell choir.
I'll just shout.
Okay. Well, you're online, so why don't we use a mic?
On behalf of the Handbell Choir, I'd like to invite you all to come back here on Tuesday night at 7 for our big holiday concert. And if you've been missing Sebastian, he'll be here with the very big bells and chimes. And the second piece of good news is that because we're going to be in here on Tuesday night, you don't need to put your chairs away. We'll just leave them out. I got permission from Sylvia.
One quick thing. This solstice ritual and service is going to be especially beautiful this year. We have our mummers dancers, but from 6:30 to 7, you will not want to miss hearing Aaron Hogan and Adam Hendy sing Celtic music of the season to get us in the mood with flickering candles in the windows in the sanctuary. So make sure you come at 6:30.
I'm just going to stand over here.
Good morning. I'm Barbara O'Neill. I'm the chair of the deacons, and I'm kind of overwhelmed by the beauty of this service, the music, the words, the spirit. Thanks, everyone. And now it's your turn. The deacons are getting ready to put together the Lenten booklet, a much loved tradition here at First Parish. For those who are new, the Lenten booklet is a collection of writings by parishioners, friends, youth of the parish on a certain topic. And the topic this year, for next year, is turning points. And you'll hear more about this. I won't go on about it, but I want you to know that I'll be leading a writing session January 14th, a Tuesday night in the Stearns Room from 7 to 9 for anyone who would like a jump start on how to get writing. We'll come together and we'll do some writing, and I promise, I guarantee, that everyone will leave with a piece of writing. So please join me for that. Thank you.
I'm Tucker Smith from the Touch of Christmas Committee. It's hard to believe it was just a week ago today that we were in this room. If you were here, it was true magic. There were people from all over town. I met a woman who'd come all the way from Andover for this fair. And it was just, there were so many people working together to make it happen. And it's not about the money we make, but if you shop in the other room, in the Donaldson room this afternoon after church, Jackie has some of her fantastic handicrafts there, some mittens that you'll need this winter, I promise. If you shop this afternoon, we might we will hit $19,000 in 3 hours. Oh, I would love if just everybody in this room would stand up. If you either attended, if you were part of the brigade, part of the craft making, part of the music making, whatever it was, if you would just stand, I would just want you to see how many people it takes to pull this fair off. Thank you all.
So I'm Larry Buell with a message from our outreach committee about our upcoming special Christmas offering. As many of you know, but many may not, our committee is charged with selecting the recipients for 3 special holiday offerings each year: Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. A lot of research and soul searching goes into identifying areas of compelling need, and proven mostly smallish organizations with low overhead whom we can trust to convert our donations quickly into essential services on the ground. This year's offering, Christmas Eve, will go to Friends of Matanois to support the Matanois Learning Center in Haiti, an institution with close ties to First Parish. The long-term board chair, now emerita, is our own Barbara Sampson. Barbara, are you here? Give a wave, yes. She does exist. Yes. We've supported Matanois with small annual grants for many years, but now and then, in times of exceptional need, also with special offerings, such as now. Matanois is a model K-12 school and also a respected teacher training institute with a record of highly successful outcomes on both fronts and nationwide impact, despite the poverty, violence, and political chaos that's plagued Haiti throughout this century. But in the worst times, like now, despite the advantage of its small island location set apart from the rest of the country, Matanois suffers from skyrocketing costs for basics like food and essential school supplies. We must help with this. We're hoping to raise at least $5,000 this month to help Matanois navigate these latest crises. So we ask you to give as generously as you can, either at the Christmas Eve services when the offering will officially be taken, or if you prefer, online through the church website, by check through U.S. mail to the church P.O. box. It's on your bulletin. By check Any other service between now and the end of December, all good. If you give by check at any time other than Christmas Eve, however, please indicate special Christmas offering in the memo line, so it will be directed to that. So, hoping that you haven't exhausted all your resources on Touch of Christmas, please give as generously as you can. Thanks.
Go in peace.
She was here. Right here. Right No, no, she's. Well, I mean, that old stand out.